if the acknowledgements to the people, the First Peoples of this country haven't been made already, and I suspect they will, I do want to do that formally to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and if there are any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the audience, acknowledge them as well. And just say that it really is great for me to be here at the first Tomorrow's Ideas Leading Today event. I want to congratulate the Australian Institute of Music for hosting Tilt, for providing the space for the discussion of big ideas, to let some cross-fertilisation happen in the realm of music. How it's made, it's considered, and also how it's consumed in what's obviously increasingly a digital world. And before I go on to my topic, which is actually the future of education as a platform for creative achievement in tomorrow's world, I want to repeat what I've said on other occasions, and I think it's really the bedrock. And that is that since time immemorial, humans have created. They've tried to make sense of themselves and their world through singing, dancing, making music, and telling stories. And while the technology platform is ever-changing, and there are multiple avenues and instruments that can be applied at a point in time, it is the drive to create and enabling that drive, which in my view is still the main game. Consider my friend Mr Yunupingu from remote northeast Arnhem Land, who with his band, Yothu Yindi, used creativity and included instruments like the yadaki, the didgeridoo and clapsticks that have been handled and performed with for thousands of years, along with modern instruments, to fuse modern sounds with the longest surviving culture on this planet. And along the way, they sparked a national conversation about reconciliation. And in doing so, they taught us more about Aboriginal culture, more about the need to work together, and ultimately more about ourselves. And that's just one very strong example of the stunning power of creativity. Now let me set a brief context. The creative industries contribute around $31 billion to our economy each year. That's a significant stream of economic activity. We're also living in a time of rapid change, where the confluence of the Asian century meeting the digital age, and that'll shape our future to a far greater extent than before. And as the economic centre of gravity increasingly shifts towards China, India, it's in these places that many new economic and creative opportunities for Australians will be found. Now, some of you may not have read it, but the government's Asian Century White Paper points out that people in Asia will increasingly demand better quality housing and food, more sophisticated consumer goods, a broader range of services including tourism, education, health, aged care, and yes, entertainment, financial and professional services, and of course, many products not yet invented. So we need to ask, what does this actually mean to Australians in the creative industries? In the music business, there are terms such as A-pop, Asian pop, didn't exist even 5 years ago, now signify a massive and growing market. It can't be ignored, especially by those of us who inhabit a continent right in the middle of the Asian region. The film industry, a recent report by Ernst & Young, reported in The Guardian, indicates that China's film market will be bigger than that of the US by 2020. The report says the Chinese market is expected to grow by around 17% until 2015, and China's building something like 25,000 cinema screens over the next 5 years. Coupled with the fact that the creative industry spotlight's increasingly shining on Asia is the fact that music, film and other creative industries continue, as they always have, to be early adopters of new technology. This all means that to be part of the growing creative industries, you need knowledge of Asian language and culture, and you need to be ahead of the pack in digital technology. And to compete in this new environment for Australians, where our trading partners have massive populations and economies of scale, well, what do governments need to do? We need to ensure that every citizen has the skills to make the fullest contribution to our economy and to our community. And that's the challenge facing Australia. It's the challenge facing all of us, in my case, who've been involved in education. But above all, the primary imperative is for each young Australian to have the opportunity to fulfil their potential as a citizen, as a contributor, and as a creator. Now, in preparing today, I had a look at AIM's website and took particular note of 2 points in the mission statement. I thought they summed it up pretty well. The ability to adapt to a wide variety of employment and career opportunities on the basis of well-developed specialisations and transdisciplinary skills, performing, creative and management arts. The development of the capacity to think logically, analyse critically, and explore responsible solutions to problems. That's a very neat summary of the value of education to the arts and creative industries and the value of the arts to education. It's also a neat summary of what we need to achieve in education generally. Now, as the former Minister for School Education and former Minister for the Arts, and as someone with a direct experience in the creative industries, I was unashamed in working towards ensuring that the arts are supported and now, critically, embedded in education in schools. So my big idea this afternoon is to say that a well-rounded education is made up of the 4 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic and the arts. Boom, boom. I don't just say this because the arts as a tool to understand ourselves and others are intrinsically worth studying. They are. I say it also because we've got research that shows us that arts education is a strong contributor in improving school attendance, academic achievement, and crucially, student well-being. Some of you might be aware of work that the Songroom organisation has conducted. It's world-leading research, and it examines the impacts of arts-based intervention programs on disadvantaged children in Australia. It's really about taking singing and music, kids can sing in choirs and do songs, into disadvantaged school communities. And what it showed was that people who participated in these intervention programs from schools in disadvantaged areas of New South Wales showed increases in self-esteem, student engagement, and classroom participation. They also showed improvement in their academic subjects and in results in reading and literacy. And the one thing that they don't yet show, but I want to reflect on briefly, which isn't in my formal speech notes, is they also provided the next fantastic singer or performer with the opportunity to discover talent that hitherto had been left covered up by neglect or disadvantage. And we won't know until 10 or 15 years' time what kind of impact the program has had on unlocking the human genius that's in those classrooms, but I'm sure it's going to be there. Now, the take home here is that we need to maximise creative opportunities for young people. We don't know where that will lead them, as I've just said. Maybe it'll lead them to AIM. Not a bad thing, but we do know what a positive effect it can have. And I really believe strongly in the contribution of the arts to education, and so I've been pleased that we've taken practical steps to see more Australian kids get arts education at their local school, and it doesn't matter where the school is. So we provided $6 million, Bell Shakespeare Company, Music Count Us In, the Songroom that I just mentioned, the Australian Children's Music Foundation, all of these organisations delivering education in music or music in education for kids across the country. And importantly, many of these programs targeted towards those who may not always have the opportunity to engage in the arts, such as kids from regional communities or kids from an Indigenous background. Now, some of you also might know the government has led the drive for Australia's first ever national curriculum. And I wanted to say to your other guest speakers, I didn't get a chance, who'll come out and speak to you later on today, we're very proud of this curriculum. I'm particularly proud of it, having brought it through with agreement with the states. Why is that? Well, firstly, it's a very good product. So it's a high quality curriculum. That means that you've got the best opportunities of learning, and it doesn't matter what your means are, where you're living, if you're in a small country town or in the city or north, south, east or west. It's also one of the world's first online digital curriculums. So you can access it straight away online. It's a digital learning resource which provides a common learning entitlement to the highest possible standards for all young Australians. That is something which I know will reap huge benefits for us in the future. When I was Arts Minister, I wanted to ensure that included in the curriculum, front and centre, along with English, Maths and Science, is the arts. The curriculum is divided into the 5 art subjects: drama, dance, music, the visual arts and media arts. And it sets out how students from the first year of school to year 10 study these subjects, what they can learn and the achievement standards that they will need to meet. Each subject's developed to be appropriate for different age groups. So, for example, kindy students will learn about dance movements by playing games. Students also learn about the arts, through local and regional cultures, history, traditions and so on. And of course there's a strong focus, which I'm pleased about, on Indigenous art forms in the new curriculum as well. There's a curriculum reporting authority. It consults with all the experts, develops the curriculum and continues to work on the final curriculum document, and that is due to be scheduled for completion by the end of this year. That's in the arts. So we already have English, Maths, Science and History. In the next tranche coming along, we have the arts as well. And that's something I can say now as the former minister that I was particularly proud to have made happen. We're also bringing the arts and the digital world together in classrooms across Australia, so you'll know about the digital education revolution, new computers and other ICT devices for all students in years 9 to 12 across Australia. Investing in enabling infrastructure like Wi-Fi networks in schools so that they can operate on a sound technology base. Investing in the national broadband network. What a great opportunity for us as a nation. This will be as big, if not bigger, and more important than big infrastructure developments like the Harbour Bridge or the Snowy Hydro river system, irrigation system, I beg your pardon. Absolutely fantastic. Helping link kids to arts, to languages, to education, that they'd otherwise miss out on, that they just wouldn't have those opportunities. There's 2 projects I just quickly wanted to share with you around what we've called a $27 million investment in the NBN-enabled Education and Skills Services program. So looking at using high-speed broadband, better and innovative access to education and training opportunities to students wherever they're living. Let me just give you one. A project involving interactive online drama workshops with the Bell Shakespeare Company, conducted at the Sydney Opera House and then live across to Wollonga High School in South Australia. I announced that one sometime last year back. It was so exciting. Here are these kids sitting in Wollonga High School, which is a good high school, but the opportunity for them to have a masterclass in drama from someone from the Shakespeare Bell Company, not likely to come along that often, and yet there it was happening and coming out of the Opera House as well. A fantastic thing for that school, and one, of course, which might see people coming on into the creative industries as actors, as script writers, as lighting designers, whatever. Today I'm also very pleased to flag that we will also support a very exciting new program, a project that I'm really keen to see happen. It's called the 100 Days Project, and it's aiming to put songwriters and producers into secondary schools, into classrooms, like a hothouse in residence program. A tremendous opportunity for the creativity to start to happen there. A great opportunity for the students, but also for the teachers alike. And we hope that that will reach many thousands of students, and something I'm particularly keen to see happen in the classroom. I know what a big difference it can make. Earlier on, I referred to the first part of AIM's mission statement, which talks about giving students the ability to adapt to a wide variety of employment and career opportunities on the basis of well-developed skills. And I also have made the point to you that in the Asian century, we must enable every Australian to make the most of the opportunities that will be presented and, of course, make their full contribution to the nation. And the only way we can achieve these goals is actually by making our education system work better for every single student. This is a must-do. It's not some sort of luxury that we can do without. Just to give you a quick example, a recently released OECD, that's the Organisation of Economic and so on and so on and so forth in Europe. I won't go through all of the of its words on it. Politicians live in the world of acronyms. Looked at our education reforms, looked at how important it was to drive school improvement, and found that while we enjoy relatively high education performance, some of our schools and students are being left behind. And that's exactly the same thing that the Gonski panel, you've heard this word Gonski and the Gonski reform, that's what they found. They found that large numbers of young Australian kids are actually getting left behind and finishing school as much as 2 or sometimes even 3 years behind equivalent kids who just happen to be from a better off community. In a nation of ours where everybody in our democracy is entitled to equality of opportunity, and in a country where we do have a sound economic base, that is simply unacceptable. And of course that led to us developing the National Plan for School Improvement. It was based on the Gonski Review, a national plan which would see nearly a $15 billion commitment to increase school funding over 6 years, along with better indexation and tied to reforms that lift student achievement. Incidentally, one of those reforms is for all the states to implement fully the national curriculum. So that will mean implement fully and support arts in schools right around Australia. So of course I was pleased that not only did the government set aside funds to support the reform commitment in the budget, but just last week passed into law the Australian Education Act, and a number of states, including New South Wales, have already agreed, and that embodies the National Plan for School Improvement, and I very much hope more states will follow. It's genuinely a historic reform to school funding which will create better schools for generations to come, and I'm very proud to have been a part of a government that's delivered so much education to young Australians. Having finished the formal part of my speech, I'm not going to rip the tie off just yet, but I wanted to conclude the address with a different reflection altogether, and it's one that's come about in part because of a decision that I made last week to resign as a minister, the Minister for School Education, Early Childhood and Youth, and not recontest my seat at the next election. So I will have had nearly 10 years in federal politics, and I certainly took those decisions without a single regret at all. No regrets there. But it has made me reflect on time and on the urgency of time and how important it is to wring the most out of every day. The fact is that the creative impulse often runs strongest when you're young. This is a time of learning, of opening yourself up to the world that's around you. It's a time of experimentation, it's a time of imagination, and it's a time of really letting stuff flow. So it's an incredibly exciting and important time in anyone's life journey. This period when you're young, when you're coming out of school and you're coming into this next phase of your life, to work as a young person and as an adult, and to do it in an area where you've got a great passion, incredible commitment, something you've always wanted to do, and you want to do it as well as you can. And that creative impulse, when it's nourished, can produce great things. And so I think for all of us, whether we're teachers and students, whether we're in the industry, whether we're policymakers who've worked in politics, we have to make sure that there's a solid foundation for people's learning. We have to make sure that people can earn a fair return for the work that they produce. We have to welcome their imagination, we have to welcome their innovation, we have to welcome their ideas, and we have to let them grow. And we have to nourish the soil so that they can grow. And our eyes and our ears have to always be open to the new. Always open to the new. Whatever the mechanism of delivery is, we must always be open to the new. Because after all, it's the new that gives us optimism about life. It's the new that tells us what lies deep within the human spirits of all of us, and that's the desire to create, the desire to connect, the desire to make a bit of sense of our world, the desire to lift our spirits too. So having said that, I want to congratulate AIM on what I think is a fantastic event. Congratulate everybody for being here, for your interest in thinking about and working together on big ideas that can harness the spirits of young Australians in an age of unparalleled excitement and big changes. Thanks very much for listening.